Hey there, welcome back. My name is Katie and this is Louisiana Cooking and Living. If you're new to my channel, we welcome you. And it is canning time in my house. I'm trying to restock my pantry shelf. I have run out of some essentials and I thought that January, when I'm not gardening and it's kind of cool and just overcast and kind of yuck and we're not doing much outside, that it's time to can up. So today we're doing a big canning project day, and there will be 4 videos that I'll be recording over today and tomorrow. And I will leave the whole canning and food preservation playlist at the end of this video. If you didn't catch them all, you can catch all of my videos that way, or you can just go back and look if you're interested in just a couple. So over these 2 days, I'm going to be doing chicken broth, bone broth. I'm going to be doing, today's video is going to be pinto beans, strawberry preserves, and spaghetti sauce. I had to think about what all I was doing. So that's all we're doing today. And I actually had to start our bean video yesterday, so I'm going to take you back to that. And then we'll get caught up to where we are now today. So here we are the day before, and we are going to get our beans prepared to soak overnight for about 18 hours. This is a bag of pinto beans I have here. This process can be used for any beans though. I just need to get some pinto beans on my shelf, and next I should be doing some black beans. So I'm just going to get these, I think it's a 2-pound bag, dumped into this big, I think it's a 30-quart bowl. We're going to sift through these beans and see if we find any rocks or bad ones. But I just love how pinto beans look with the speckled spots on them. So I'm just sifting through these pinto beans real quick, just doing a quick search. These days with the mechanical processing, there's less likely to have those bad things in there, but you just want to make sure. So we're going to fill our bowl with water. Not fill it, but you want a good covering on it, because these beans will soak up some of this water and absorb it and plump up, and so we want to give them a good covering of just regular water. The point of soaking the beans overnight is to break down the phytic acid in the beans, which is what causes some stomach discomfort, makes them more difficult to digest, and some unwanted gas. So we'll get these covered, and we are going to be pouring on a couple of tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and that is just to draw out that phytic acid and break it down. It doesn't affect the flavor of the beans at all. So we're just going to pour a couple of those tablespoons on there, and we'll leave these soaking overnight. All right, so our beans have been soaking overnight for about 24 hours, and they have gotten much more plump. But we're going to do like a little first pre-cook before we put them in our jars. They will finish cooking as we can them, but we're going to just go ahead and get it started, because if you've ever cooked beans before, they take several hours to cook. So we're going to do like a 30-minute pre-cook on the stovetop before we actually put them in our jars. I have also drained and rinsed these beans 2 or 3 times. I don't quite remember exactly what we're doing or what I did, but I have a big stock pot here. We're just gonna put all of our beans in here, cover them with water. We'll put them on the stove top, bring them to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, and let it go for 30 minutes, and then we'll be back to jar them up. I don't want to, let's see. It's probably a more efficient way to do this, but I don't want to pour them everywhere, and this is what I'm doing. Found a few beans that fell on the countertop. We'll fill our pot with water here, and I'll get this on the stove. While our beans are simmering on the stove, I'm gonna go ahead and get my jars ready, because I'm gonna add a few things to my jars, and I totally forgot my bacon. Let me grab my bacon real quick. All right, I'm canning these beans in half pints. So when I go to use beans, that's typically like a can of beans is a little bit less than or less than a pint. So I'm gonna can these in pints. We typically use pintos for like a refried beans or adding to chili or something like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go through and put I just cut my bacon into just some little pieces here, and I'm just gonna go and put a few these little chunks into my jars. We are pressure canning these, so it's okay that I'm putting the bacon in them. All right. Some of these have some smaller pieces, so a little bit more. All right, don't worry about that. I'm gonna fry that up to use that for something else. Next, we're gonna add just a little bit of onion in our jar. I just did some rough chop on my onion, and we'll just throw some of this in my jars. You can season your beans up however you want. This is just what I thought would go good for making a refried bean or adding these to chili. Not much, just a few pieces in each jar. Next, I have some of my freeze-dried garlic. I don't have any fresh right now, but this works just the same as fresh. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of this in each jar. About the equivalent of a clove. Last time I canned beans, I just dropped a garlic clove in there. And then something different I decided to do this time was I had freeze-dried some of the last of my jalapenos from my garden, and I thought I'd throw a little piece of these into the jars. We like spicy. We'll give this a try this time. So I'm just gonna break it off, little chunks in each one. I'm not gonna put a whole one in. If you wanted to try this, you could just slice up a jalapeno, throw a slice or two in each jar. We'll just see if we like this or not. That's it. All right, now we're gonna add some salt. We're just gonna do a half a teaspoon of salt in each jar. Now my bacon is a lower sodium bacon. If you're gonna use a bacon that's not, maybe you'd wanna cut back on the salt a little bit. It's up to you. All right, so we're just gonna wait for our beans to simmer for 30 minutes, and then we will be back to fill our jars. All right, so our beans have simmered for 30 minutes, and we are gonna fill these up, and we are gonna leave a 1-inch headspace. So I'm just gonna start ladling my beans in here, and then we're gonna cover them with hot water. We're gonna debubble these because there will be little air pockets between all the beans. Ooh. Hopefully we can get enough beans out of here to fill up all my jars. A few more in this one. All right, I'm gonna get all these filled and we'll be back to add some water to them. All right, so we have our canner all ready to go. I have, as my instructions for my canner, 3 quarts of water in here. I have a trivet down the bottom. I'm going to stick my jars of beans down in here, and I am hoping that I can get all of these jars because I can double stack pint-sized jars in this canner. Hoping. So we're gonna get all these in here. I do have the water warm down in the bottom of my canner. In a water bath canner, you have to have the water above the lid of the jars. But in a pressure canner, it's only a certain amount of water that you put in there. It's not for covering. the lids of the jars. All right, so I have one layer in here. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure they're all level. My second trivet down and put my second layer of jars. And hopefully we can get all these in here. If not, we'll have to run this again. So pints of beans take 75 minutes and quarts will take 90 minutes. So I did not get them all. But I have some more broth I need to run through the canner, so I'll just do those at the same time. So I'm gonna lock my lid in place. We'll bring up the temperature in the water, and as the water starts heating up, it will push the air out of the canner. It will vent out of this pipe. We want it to vent for a solid 10 minutes. Once it's vented for 10 minutes, we'll put our, let me grab it. We'll put our little weight or jiggler or whatever you want to call it on here, and then we'll watch our pressure go up. You'll look at your elevation as to what your pressure needs to be, and mine is at 11 pounds of pressure. Once I get there, I set my timer for the 75 minutes. After that, you want to make sure all your pressure, you'll turn your burner off, all your pressure come down in your canner, the pressure come down here. This little thing pops up when it's full of pressure. You'll take your little jiggler off. You want it to sit. And if you want to see what happens when you don't let it sit and all the pressure come down, watch the bone broth video that I recorded this month also, because I show you what happens when you don't allow your pressure canner to fully depressurize. And it wasn't fun, and I was kind of sad because it's a lot of work to make bone broth. So make sure you let everything depressurize in here. If you do everything properly, there's nothing to worry about. Nothing scary happens. It just, I was hurrying myself. So just let everything come down to pressure, or no pressure, before you open it. So that's the rules. All right, let me get this going and we'll be back when everything's done. All right, we got 16 pints of our pinto beans here. I took all the rings off, washed them with some soap and some lukewarm water. And the way you know that they're properly sealed is when you hold them by the lid. There's no ring on this jar. You hold it by the lid and it does not come off. And when you push the top, they do not pop. I did have one jar here that did not seal, so this will go in the fridge and we will use this within the next few days. The rest of these, I will mark them Pintos in January 2025 with a Sharpie, put them on my pantry shelf, and have plenty of Pintos to last us a little while. So if you want to follow along and watch some more canning videos, I'll pop my playlist over here of canning and food preservation, and you can follow those videos. And also, if you want to hit my subscribe button over here, my logo, you can touch that and you can follow us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.